W5FC repeater PL110.9.
I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
one need to use the repeater before we begin tonight's Skynet. This Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray. My name's Tom. I'll be your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic, and we encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time by using the pro sign break and your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic? Please come now. Stations with priority. Let's see here. This is a directed net. Please do not transmit without direction from net control. That would be me. And stations are reminded to ID at the end of your transmission. This weekly net operates on this frequency, which is, in case you hadn't guessed, 146.880 megahertz with a field tone of 110.9er. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible using the W5FC-R station ID or Echolink node 37247. Tonight's topics: astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio-video links are available online. Go to W5FC.org right now for the complete list. And please remember to tell others about this popular net. Amateur operators are welcome. You need not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. This net is structured, is 90 minutes long and structured in several parts. Let me give you all of them. We may or may not get to all of them. We have general announcements, Texas Astronomical Society of events, where and when you can look through a telescope, National Space Society events, discussion topic of the evening, what you can see in the sky today, night, a featured constellation, object, or topic, recent astronomical discoveries, space exploration and space history, visible satellite passages over the next couple of days, astronomical Q&A, and the 73 round. And I want to make an announcement first before we go ahead and do the check-ins. Tom messed up. We had a scheduled net control besides me, and somehow or another I thought it was the third Saturday rather than the fourth Saturday, and I messed everything up. So if you're looking for Billy, she'll be here next week with her topic, and I apologize profusely. I just thought it was last week, even though I already went and lived through last week, at least twice, because my time machine allowed it. So it's this week. Or if it were last week, it would be next week, which is this week. So at any rate, let's go ahead and get started. Round one, low power short time check-ins. Please come now with your call sign, name, where you're transmitting from this evening. Let me know, and we have some discussion about this. I may change it. But at any rate, I'll take low power short time check-ins. If you'd like to join us, please come now with your call sign, name, where you're transmitting from. Let me know if you're low power, short time, both.
Whiskey Alpha 5 Romeo Foxtrot Golf, mobile, short time.
God, WA5RFG, mobile short time. Can I get your name, please?
Handle is Rollin, WA5RFG.
Very good, I should know that. I'm sorry, Rollin. WA5RFG, Rollin, short time, mobile. Any additional low power short time, please come now.
This is MFI, Whiskey Bravo, number 4, Mike, Foxtrot,
Right. I've got WB4MFI, Ted Dallas. Low power, long time. Welcome back, Ted. All right, let's continue. I'll take general check-ins now. This was always interesting. Please come with your call sign name, where you're transmitting from.
Tango Mike, Tony and Dallas.
Hello, Echo 5, Romeo, Marvin and Highland Park.
Hello, 5. Juliet, Delta Whiskey, John and Coppell.
Charlie 5, Oscar Zulu Tango, Carolyn in Louisville. Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima, Brendan DeSoto.
November 5, Whiskey Oscar India, William and Alan.
Kilo Golf 5, Victor Juliet Papa, Robert and Richard.
Farmers Branch.
Kilo Echo 5, Romeo, Marvin and Highland Park.
This is November 5, Bravo, Bill and Irving.
Echo Bravo, David in Dallas.
This is Kilo Foxtrot 5, Quebec, Delta Quebec, Eric and Garland.
Kilo Golf 5, Quebec, X-Ray India, Glenn and Rockwell.
Echo 5, Echo November, Eric in Plano. Echo 5, Romeo, Marvin in Dallas.
Okay, let's stop there. I will need a couple of fills, but let me give you who I have. I've got NT5TM, Tony, Dallas. KE5RRR, Marvin, Highland Park. K5JDW, John and Capel. KC5OZT, Miss Carolyn, Louisville. WB5OZL, Brenda, DeSoto. N5WI, William Allen. KG5, I think it's Victor, Juliet, Papa, Robert, and Richardson. Robert, did I do it right?
QSL.
I appreciate that. Victor, Juliet, Papa, I put down what looked like a U. There was another station that doubled with you. I think they said, I'm not sure. I know that's a long check-in. You may not remember who came before you, preceded you. There was one station. I'll tell you what, let me go through the rest, and then I'll give you another round in there. So there was a double, and I did miss one person. Next station I got was N5BB, Bill and Irving. W5EBB, David in Dallas. KF5QDQ, Eric in Garland. KG5QXI, Glenn in Rockwall. And KE5EN, Eric in Plano. If you checked in and I did not acknowledge you, please come again. I know there's one of you I missed. All right, may have resolved itself. I'll take additional check-ins. Please come now with your call sign, name, and where you're transmitting from.
This is K5KOB, Philip from Crandall, and that missed check-in was from Farmers Branch.
Foxtrot 5, Zulu, Bravo, Lima, Bill, Farmers Branch.
Excellent. I've got the fill. Number 11 was KF5ZBL, Mr. Bill in Farmers Branch. Good seeing you today. And then I've got K5KOB, Philip in Crandall. Philip, is that a new call?
Sure, I've had it for a few months now. K5KOB.
Good. I'm just very slow on picking up on new things, so I know that I am 3 months in the past, except for last week, where I was in the future. Okay, any additional RF check-ins at this point? Please come now with your call sign name, where you're transmitting from. Go ahead and go over to Echolink. I think some folks are checked in, but not everybody. If you'd like to join us on Echolink only, please come with your call sign name. Let me know where you're transmitting from. We'll give you extra time. Echolink only.
Kilo India 5, Bravo November Papa, Luis in Fort Worth.
This is November 5, Yankee Echo Oscar, Stephen, San Antonio.
I have KI5BNP, Luis in Fort Worth, and I got N5YEO, Stephen in San Antonio. I can't talk this evening. Stephen in San Antonio. There's still a few other folks on Echolink. Anybody else would like to check in? If you're on Echolink and you want to go by voice, please do so. Otherwise, just type in the chat window that you would like to be recognized as part of the net this evening. Echolink only. Please come out.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Bravo Zulu Whiskey, J, near Weatherford.
I have KG5PZWJ in Weatherford. I think all the regulars are more or less checked in, more than less. This is KE5ICX. I'm net control for tonight's Skynet. Let me go ahead and open it up to anybody who would like to check in one more round, and then we'll get to business at hand. Any mode, please come now with your call sign name, where you're transmitting from. Okay, we'll just move on. General announcements. Do we have any general announcements for this evening's net? This can be a ham, astronomical, space, or of general interest to licensed hams. Please come out. Right, hearing none. I'll give the regular announcements. I'll be quick about it. We have AMSAT, Amateur Radio Satellite Group, has 2 nets, Dallas residents. first one is Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Central Time. It's out of Houston. You'll need to use Echolink or listen to the AMSATnet.com. Go to the AMSATnet.com website and look for the audio feed. We also have the Dallas AMSAT Net. That is on Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. on the Arlington repeater. That's 147.140 megahertz with a peel tone of 110.9er. It has a positive offset. For all the DARC nets, we have a number of them. Monday nights are very popular. First week is Ham Fixin's cooking. Second week is MCOM 101. Kevin K5KRG does an excellent net talking about emergency communications and how you can get involved in some of the things that you need to know so you can join one of the local groups here in town. Third week is Ham Fixin's net again. We like to cook and we like to talk about it twice in a month on Monday evenings. The fourth week is Geek Net. NT5TM Tony, he does an excellent net talking about all things technical and geeky. There's always a puzzler that's in there as well. Test your skills. Fifth Monday, if there is one, we always have a mystery net. You never know what we're going to be talking about. We've done everything from fly fishing to Jeopardy. You never know, but it's always fun to participate. On Wednesdays, we have Veterans Net, which is the first and third week. Again, these are all 7 to 8 p.m. On Saturdays is the Night of Nets, which begins at 7 o'clock for the DARC nets at TechNet from 7 to 8, and then a Skynet from 9 until 10:30, and of course the Afterglow Movie Net at 10:30 p.m. And I'll give that information in just a moment. Every night of the week at 6:30 p.m. is the ARRL National Traffic System Training Net from 6:30 to approximately 7 o'clock. If you'd like to be a part of and join a formalized net having to do with message handling, this is both on shortwave and then also on this repeater. You can learn all about it. So once you understand it here, you can go ahead and go on to HF and be a part of the nets there as well. All right, so tonight's Afterglow Movie Net, I get the chance to read this. This is always fun. For me, Albert Chop wanted to believe UFOs were all the rage after World War II, but Chop wasn't sure exactly what they were. He'd investigated sightings throughout the United States. He kicked the anti-gravity device to the corner of the room. With all this paperwork piling up on his desk, he could barely work at all. The faster-than-light accelerator took up valuable space as well. Chop pushed it off the table, and it fell to the floor in a loud thud. If only he could find time to finish the reports and document the alien technology occupying more and more of his basement office. Join us for the next Afterglow Movie Net, UFOs, the true story of flying saucers, tonight at 10:30 p.m. All right, we'll continue on. Do we have anyone on frequency who would like to talk about the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, where and when you can look through a telescope? Not tonight, but anyone out there want to tell us, please come out. All right, dead silence out there. Don't forget, TAS monthly meetings are the fourth Friday. You just missed it, except in December at the University of Texas at Dallas campus in Richardson. The meeting begins at 7:30 in the Science Learning Center buildings. Remember to park only in lots Hotel, India, or Juliet, H, I, or J. Parking anywhere else on the campus could result in a ticket. These include programs presented by members or guest speakers, a slideshow of the current constellation of the month, and items for sale such as t-shirts, books, and observing aids. You can find out more about the TAS of Dallas by going to texasastro.org. and continue. Let's see. Mr. Bill did not check in. Let me go ahead and ask for him directly. N5DB, Bill, are you on frequency, and would you like to discuss the National Space Society events and activities? Maybe you are checked in. I just didn't know. Yeah, you are checked in. Go ahead, Bill.
I'm here, Tom. You need to print out the Excel spreadsheets I sent out, and then you can just, everybody's on the list, and you just check them off when they sign in. But anyway, this is Inside BB. I don't have a lot because I was out of town on a business trip during the last National Space Society meeting, the local chapter. The next National Space Society local chapter meeting will be on Sunday, October the 14th. This is a little more than 2 weeks from now. The meeting, as normal, will be at the Spring Creek Barbecue in Irving on the southwest corner of Highway 183 in Beltline. This is right across the highway from Irving Mall. The festivities start around 3:30 p.m. on Sunday afternoon, so you can eat a late lunch before the meeting, or you can wait till the end of the meeting and eat dinner there. A good barbecue. I don't know the topic for the next meeting yet. There were some local activities when I was out of town, but I was out of town, so I didn't see these local activities, so I can't report on them this past week. Sorry. Other things coming up, the Apollo, the 7th anniversary is on the October the 20th, and I believe there's some kind of event at the Frontiers of Science Museum, but I haven't verified that. That was just suggested to me. Tom may know more about that. But I think the National Space Society was thinking about doing something there on Saturday, October 20th. Well, let's see, just a moment. It may be at, come to think of it, I think it's actually at the Perot Museum. No, I'll take that back. Frontiers of Flight. So maybe Tom can comment on that. There is a World Space Week activities next week, and there is a possibility of doing something at the Perot Museum a week from the day, Saturday, 2 weeks from today. I'm a week off. Saturday, October the 6th. But I don't believe that's verified yet. So I'm sorry to be so discombobulated, but I've been out of town. The bad weather here prevented me landing from Minneapolis last night. The plane landed in San Antonio. I got 2 hours of sleep, and I stood in line for 4.5 hours trying to rebook. It was no fun, and my brain is mush. In 5dB.
All right, thank you, Bill. Does anyone need any fills? I am permanently clipped. I do not have to do tons of travel like I used to. I'm very happy. I have a desk job now, so good news. All right, let's see here. Let me go ahead and ask there's additional check-ins. Please come now with your call sign, name, where you're transmitting from. I will add you to the list. Please come out. Hearing none, let's go ahead and have the discussion topic of the evening. I pulled this as an article that came from, where was it this came from? I don't have it written down. I found it on a website. This was, I guess I'm just going to have to tell you, Marcelo Glaser wrote this article in January of 2018, earlier this year, at the very beginning of the year. And he had an article he wanted to talk about, or a topic he wanted to talk about, called UFO Investigations, the Science and the Will to Believe. Yeah, this is kind of based on the fact that we got the UFO movie this evening. I thought it would be kind of fun, even though I messed up that this was not my night for the net. Oh, well. So this is what he said on January 3rd of 2018. To close out the door on 2017, the strangest year I can remember, there's nothing more appropriate than the revelation in December from the U.S. government that it indeed had an office dedicated to the investigation of UFO-related phenomena. Enough to make X-Files a conspiracy theory fans rejoice. Tucked in the 5th floor of the Pentagon in a remote area known as Sea Ring since 2007, the military intelligence officer Luis Elizondo headed the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. Although details about the program remain shrouded in military secrecy, some of its projects have been made public by Elizondo and his associates. $22 million was slated to the office, which originally closed its doors after funding ended in 2012, although, according to Elizondo, the effort continues. The funding was obtained at the request of the Nevada's then-Senator Henry Reid. Elizondo told the New York Times that he continued to meet with military and intelligence officers until his resignation this past October. Most of the funds went to billionaire entrepreneur Robert Bigelow, according to the Times report, who owns the Las Vegas-based aerospace company contracted by the Defense Department to analyze reports of sightings and even materials said to be of alien origin. Among the reports studied were sightings of high-speed flying objects that showed no sign of a propulsion mechanism or others that were able to hover as if by magic. A striking one is the video shot in 2004 near San Diego by two Navy FA-18F jets showing an oval-shaped flying object the size of a conventional aircraft. Reports of UFOs are not new, of course, starting with the famous Roswell incident of July of 1947, where supposedly a flying disc crashed in the desert to much sensational news, including the capture of the dead or living alien pilots that were then whisked to an equally mysterious Area 51, an Air Force base of shadowy reputation. And of course, watch a video of the whole incident from the Roswell Museum website. According to the official military version, though, it was simply a weather balloon. That same year, the Air Force started a program to investigate what amounted to more than 12,000 sightings of reports of encounters with UFOs. Under the name Project Blue Book, the studies continued that the majority of sightings were stars, clouds, or conventional spy aircraft reflecting in the moon or sun. Some 701 events remain unexplained by the program's end in 1969. And in 2007, the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program launched, where officers analyzed metal alloys that supposedly came from an unidentified flying craft, interviewed pilots that saw UFOs, and even examined people who claimed to have suffered symptoms from sighting or, more dramatically, from being kidnapped by aliens. According to the Times article, quote, a 2009 Pentagon briefing summary of the program prepared by its director at the time asserted that, another quote, what was considered science fiction is now science fact, end first quote, and that the United States was incapable of defending itself against some of the technologies discovered. Final quote. Would fiction be more dramatic than this? It is no wonder the military and the general public are interested. After all, if indeed alien beings not only exist, but came here to visit, we better know their intentions, whether pacifist I guess. Or invasive, no kidding. But most people add another dimension to the whole question. We want to know if we are alone in the galaxy or if we have company here. Maybe something we've discussed here, I guess, from the website that I can't find now. Maybe the government whisked it away. Either option would be deeply transforming for society as a whole. Scientists would also love to know. The possibility of extraterrestrial life is one of the questions of our time, and we're closer than ever to answering, given our progress in discovering potentially habitable exoplanets. However, precisely due to its importance, we must have great care as we analyze videos and narratives of supposed encounters with extraterrestrial spacecraft. After all, it is easy to let our desire to believe in something cloud our judgment. As fans of the X-Files remember, the poster on Fox Mulder's office said under the photo of a flying saucer, "I want to believe." That's why people must see scientists not as boring people who want to destroy their dreams with rational arguments, but as people who really want to know the truth without being fooled by a deeply ingrained belief. Science methodology, although not perfect, is the antidote we have to a very human propensity to turn something we want to believe into reality. The fact is that up to now we have no convincing evidence whatsoever that ETs have been here, piloting their super advanced spacecraft, to the many biochemical barriers for life to take hold on a planet and persist until it might become intelligent to the point of developing technologies capable of interstellar travel. We must add the improbable fact that they found us and decided to come all the way here. The possible explanations for the sightings, from atmospheric and cosmic phenomena to ordinary aircraft or a secret one reflecting sunlight at odd angles, the best are surely not alien spacecraft. This rational argument doesn't take away from the fascination we all have with UFOs. We must keep looking and taking reports seriously. After all, if we don't look, we don't find. However, we want to be sure that what we see is real and not the fruit of our will to believe. This was an article, relatively short but interesting. Marcel Glaser is a theoretical physicist and writer and a professor of natural philosophy, physics, and astronomy at Dartmouth College. He is the director of the Institute for Cross-Disciplinary Engagement at Dartmouth, co-founder of the 13.7, and an active promoter of science to the general public. His latest book, The Simple Beauty of the Unexpected, A Natural Philosopher's Quest for Trout and the Meaning of Everything. Sounds like a cool book. You can keep up with Marcelo on Facebook and on Twitter at mgleiser, M-G-L-E-I-S-E-R. Right, let me go ahead and do this next section, and then I will go ahead and open it up to additional check-ins this evening. This is KE5ICX. I'm net control for tonight's Skynet. So, what you see in the sky over the next couple of weeks? Well, probably not a lot with all the rain we've got. I'm not sure when this is all supposed to clear out. I know we are clouded in for the rest of the weekend. Try and stay out of flood waters. We know they're out there. I know there's 183 got flooded. So be careful. Don't drown. Go around. So what you can see in the sky over the next couple of weeks, this is from earthsky.org/tonight. The 2018 autumnal equinox for the northern hemisphere, spring equinox for the southern hemisphere, will take place on Sunday, September 23rd. That's tomorrow at 1:54 UTC. This moment, the instance of September equinox, the sun is at zenith and straight overhead, as seen from the Earth's equator. Beginning of an equinox, the September equinox sun crosses the sky's equator going from north to south. Who will see the sun overhead at the moment of this year's equinox? If you were on the sun on September 23rd at 1:54 UTC, you'd see the hemisphere of Earth shown in a simulated image. Oh, well, I had it, but I don't have it up. You can go to the website, you'll find it. Looks like you'd have to be on a ship in the Pacific Ocean, some 35 degrees north of Canberra, New South Wales, Australia, to see the sun exactly directly overhead at noon at the exact moment of equinox. But no matter, everyone along Earth's equator on the day of the equinox, one for a day and two before or after it, will experience that noonday sun more or less overhead. Although the equinox happens at the same instance for everyone worldwide, the clock time for the equinox varies by time zone. In the U.S., the local clock time for the September equinox will be Saturday, September 22nd at 9:54 Eastern Daylight Time, 8:54 p.m. Central, 7:54 p.m. Mountain, and 6:54 p.m. Pacific Daylight. On the day of the equinox, the sun rises due east and sets due west all over the world, with everyone worldwide receiving approximately equal portions of day and night. October comes rolling around, that'll change dramatically. By then, the sun will rise noticeably south of the due east and will set noticeably south of due west. They'll mean shorter days and longer nights for the northern hemisphere and longer days and shorter nights in the southern. After the equinox, the sun and migrating birds will continue to travel southward to the southern climates. Arctic sea ice will begin to freeze. Antarctic ice will start melting. The great wheel of the seasons will continue to turn. How do you celebrate? Well, you try to watch the sun rises due west and rises due east and sets due west on the day of the equinox. If you do that from your backyard or deck or local park, somewhere you'll have a familiar landmark so that you gain a handy tool for astronomy. That is, the tool of knowing the direction of due east. The bottom line is, around the equinox, the sun is overhead at noon for people at the Earth's equator. From the U.S. Naval Observatory, which you can see in the sky this week, some of this has already happened. We're just going to have to take it at word because we haven't seen a lot of sunlight this week, or any starlight for that matter. The moon gradually climbs back to the northern hemisphere of the sky this week, passing near ruddy Mars on the evening of the 19th while waxing to a full phase, which will occur on the 24th at 10:52 Eastern Daylight. Since this is the full moon that occurs closest to the autumnal equinox, it is almost universally known, at least in the northern hemisphere, as the harvest moon. Not only is this an appropriate name for the season, also reflects an annual phenomenon that's been aiding farmers for millennia. Growers in the northern temperate zones have long known that each year, close to the time of the autumnal equinox, the moon rises at shorter intervals of successive nights around the time of the full moon. Here in Washington, the moon rises half an hour later on successive nights around full moon. Normally, lunar successive risings occur an hour later each night. This effect becomes more pronounced as you move further north. Go to the Canadian Prairie or to the Midlands of England, and the interval shrinks to 20 minutes. In Fairbanks, Alaska, the difference is a mere 5 minutes. As the Arctic Circle, moonrise actually occurs earlier on successive evenings around full moon. The phenomenon occurs thanks to the inclination of the moon's orbit and its relationship to the ecliptic. At this time of the year, Luna's orbital phase intersects the eastern horizon at a shallow angle. That means that her altitude relative to the horizon when she rises doesn't change as much as it does at other times of the year. The opposite case happens in the springtime. Luna's orbit is nearly perpendicular with the horizon, and moonrise in Washington occurs well over later on successive evenings. I think that's a typo. The autumnal equinox occurs on the 22nd at 9:54 Eastern Daylight. At this time, the center of the sun's disk passes ecliptic longitude 180 degrees and is viewed from Earth-Moon by center, crosses the celestial equator into the southern hemisphere of the sky. Let's see here. We kind of talked about that. Let me reset. All right, I'm going to skip that because that's kind of a repeat of what we already talked about. Let's talk about once the moon leaves the scene on the summer Milky Way is readily visible in the early hours of darkness. By late night, the sparse star fields of autumn sky indicate a portal of sorts into the deeper reaches of space. Looking past a few visible stars of the fall constellations, a modest to large telescope will reveal far-flung distant galaxies whose faint wisps of light have taken tens of millions of years to reach us. Brighter stars return after midnight when the first of winter's constellations begin to rise. On to the planets. Venus is making a big turn in her orbit that will soon lead to her passing inferior conjunction in late October. She is rapidly catching up to Earth and closing the distance between the two planets. She's now closer to Earth than Mars, and through the telescope, her disk grows rapidly as she closes in. This week, she reaches her greatest brilliance of the current apparition, so she should be relatively easy to pick out low in the southwestern sky just after sunset. You'll need to act quickly, though, as she sets by 8 p.m. by the week's end. Jupiter still hangs in the southwest as dusk settles. The giant planet sets at 9:30 p.m. this week, so if you're going to take a gander at him in a telescope, you'll need to do so during twilight. Saturn can be found near the meridian as evening twilight ends. He's well placed in the south near the top of the Teapot asterism Sagittarius. His southerly declination means that we have to look through more of our turbulent atmosphere when we point a telescope his way. But a few minutes of patience will reward you with intervals of detailed viewing. Fortunately, Saturn almost always puts on a good show, and you never get your first view of this distant world. And then finally, Mars rounds out the evening, shining with his distant ruddy glow in the southeast as twilight ends. The red planet is now receding from us, so his brightness is gradually fading, and his disk is shrinking by about 1 arc-second per week. That said, a good 4-inch or larger instrument should show details of his dusty surface. This week, one of his most prominent dark features, Syrtis Major, is well placed for evening viewing for observers in the U.S. From the U.S. Naval Observatory. This is KE5ICX. I'm net control for tonight's Skynet. I'll take additional check-ins. Anybody who would like to join us this evening, please come down with your call sign name, where you're transmitting from. I'll also check out Echolink along the way. Anybody like to join us, please come in.
Alpha, Bravo Alpha, Andre and Dallas.
I've got N5AVA, Andre in Dallas. Welcome back, Andre. Anyone else? Echolink, maybe.
This is Kilo Foxtrot 5, Papa Delta Sierra, Billy and Sherman on Echolink.
Good. I have KF5PDS, Miss Billy over in Sherman. Okay, let's move on to the next portion of the net. That would be featured constellation or object. This evening, this is handled by Miss Carolyn, KC5OZT. Go ahead, the net is yours.
Thank you, Tom, and tonight we're going to look at one of the largest constellations, Pegasus, the 7th largest, in fact. It's named after the winged horse in Greek mythology, and you remember the story is that Bellerophon, the hero who was sent to kill Chimera, a monster, found Pegasus, tamed him, using a golden brighter, and then swoop down from the sky and kill the monster. After this and several other heroic deeds, Bellerophon, he sort of let that get to his head. In riding Pegasus, he tried to fly to Olympus and join the gods. But unfortunately, he fell off the horse and back to Earth. But Pegasus did make it to Olympus, and Zeus used him to carry his thunder and lightning, and then eventually placed him in the constellations. Now, the constellation is depicted with only the top half of the horse, actually. And it's easy to spot by asterism, the great Pegasus, which represents the main body, and made up of 3 bright stars and Pegasus, and then due to later redesign of the maps, also Alpha Andromeda is the 4th star. And Epsilon, or Enif, E-N-I-F, his proper name is the brightest star at magnitude 2.4. Its name means the nose and marks Pegasus' muzzle. And it's sort of unusual. Its spectrum shows an overabundance of barium and strontium. And another one is 51 Pegasus. This is a main sequence, class G star, like our sun, magnitude 5.5. It was the first star ever discovered that was similar to the sun, and also had a planet in its orbit. The star is older than the sun, though, by 6 to 8 billion years. But this exoplanet was discovered on October 6th of 1995 and has at least half the mass of Jupiter. And they wanted to give it a name, so they nicknamed it, guess what, Bellerophon. And moving on, Pegasus is loaded with deep sky objects. And probably the one most people know is M15, a globular cluster, magnitude 6.2, and it's one of the densest and oldest known. And most of its mass is concentrated in the core. Astronomers think that dense globulars like this one undergo a process called core collapse, where the gravitational interactions between the stars, it led to many members of the cluster migrating towards the center. It actually contains more than 100,000 stars, with a significant number of variables and pulsars, and a double neutron star. And the cluster is home to TEASE-1 at magnitude 15, and this was a planetary nebula, the first one discovered within a globular cluster. And then now we move on to some galaxies. This is known as Stephan's Quintet. It's a galaxy collision in action. And it's a compact group of galaxies And this is a rare opportunity to observe a galaxy group in the process of evolving. Evolved from a X-ray faint system dominated by spiral galaxies to a more developed system dominated by elliptical galaxies. And the brightest galaxy in the group is NGC 7320. Yes, this is number 3 in the pictures, if you're looking at them. This is also a portrait of Stefan Quintet, but this was taken with a wide field camera on the Hubble Space Telescope in both visible and near infrared light. And this quintet, a whole group of 5 galaxies, and out of this, 3 have distorted shapes, elongated spiral arms, and long gaseous tidal tails containing star clusters, proof of their close encounter. All these interactions spark a frenzy of starburst in the central pair of galaxies. The colors trace the ages of the stars, showing that starburst occurred at different times, stretching over hundreds of millions of years. And the infrared camera also looks through the curtains of dust to see groups of stars, of course, that can't be seen in visible light. So look at the picture. NGC 7319, that's the one at the top right. That's a barred spiral with distinct spiral arms. The blue specks in the spiral arm at the top, and the red dots just above the right of the floor are clusters of many thousands of stars. Resolve individual stars, but if you keep going clockwise around this quintet, the next galaxy seems to have 2 cores, but it is actually 2 separate galaxies, 7318A and 7318B. And encircling the galaxies are young, bright blue star clusters, and pinkish clouds of glowing hydrogen where more infant stars being born that are probably less than 10 million years old. And then the NGC 7317, that's at the bottom left, is simply a normal-looking elliptical galaxy. It's less affected by all these interactions. And then contrasting with these galaxies, the NGC 7320 is at the upper left, and it's the galaxy. And bursts of star formations are occurring in its disk as seen by the blue and the pink dots. And in this galaxy, Hubble can resolve individual stars, evidence that it is closer to Earth. The reason for this is it's only 40 million light years away and just happens to be in the line of sight. The other members of the quintet are about 290 million light years away. It is a magnificent system. Okay. Okay, then we have another spiral galaxy, 7331, and it's magnitude 10. It has a similar structure and size to the Milky Way, and it's in its brightest galaxy in what's called the NGC 7331 group, sometimes also called, for some reason, the Echolink group. Deer is in the animal. What's particularly notable about this galaxy is that its bulge in the center is rotating in the opposite direction to the rest of the galaxy's disk. You know, we've seen that in some other galaxies, too. And the fifth picture, if you look at it, is NGC 7673 and a disturbed spiral galaxy. It's magnitude 13, so you need a big scope for that one, but it's a starburst galaxy, too, that's experiencing intense star-forming activity. The next object is a very interesting object. It's called the Einstein Cross. And what that is a gravitationally lensed quasar. It's located right behind a galaxy named Hucra, Hucra. Hucra's lens was named after the American astronomer John Hucra. And as you know, we'll mention the phenomenon of gravitational lensing predicted by Einstein's theory of relativity. And the lensing is a result of space-time around massive objects such as black holes or galaxy clusters being curved, which allows rays of light from a source in the background to be bent. And this is the image of the background source can be distorted and magnified. This is a good example of this. The quasar is called the Einstein Cross because, as you see, there are as many as 4 images of the quasar appearing around the galaxy in the foreground. And this came from the European Space Agency's faint object camera on the Hubble telescope. And this is the most detailed image ever taken of the cross. This quasar is about 8 billion light years away, while the lensing galaxy lies only 400 million light years away. But that's a that's a great example of Einstein's theory. And then we have one more galaxy that we can look for. NGC 7479. It's known as the Propeller Galaxy. And if you look at the picture, it does look like a propeller. It's a barge spiral, magnitude 11.6. And the tightly wound arms of this spiral galaxy actually create an inverted S. They spin in an anti-clockwise direction. However, at radio wavelengths, this galaxy spins the other way with a jet of radiation that bends in the opposite direction to the stars and dust in the arms of the galaxy. Astronomers think that the radio jet was put into its bizarre backward spin following a merger with another galaxy. And it's worth keeping an eye on. 2 supernovae were observed, one in 1990 and another in 2009. So Pegasus, he's a pretty good horse. He has a lot of nice objects in him, so take a tour through him, and you'll enjoy it. And unless there's any questions, Tom, I'll turn it back to you. KC50ZT.
This is KE5ICX and net control for tonight's Skynet. I'll take additional check-ins before we move to the next segment. If you'd like to join us and have not checked in yet, please come now with your call sign name. Let me know where you're transmitting from. I have KE5JIT, Randy in Louisville. He would like to be checked in. I think I got everybody else. Let's see, there's Greg. He's over on Facebook. I'll go ahead and get him checked in, Greg S. Not sure where he's hailing from, but I'll check him out later. So we got him checked in as well. Okay, let's go on to the next section. We have Miss Brenda, WV50ZL. You're up. What do you got for us on astronomical discoveries?
Thanks, Tom. The first article is entitled Magellanic Cloud Duo May Have Been a Trio. Two of the closest galaxies to the Milky Way, the large and small Magellanic Clouds, may have had a third companion, astronomers believe. Research published today describes how another luminous galaxy was likely engulfed by the large Magellanic Cloud some 3 to 5 billion years ago. ICRAR master's student Benjamin Armstrong, lead author on the study, said most stars in the large Magellanic Cloud rotate clockwise around the center of the galaxy, but unusually some stars rotate anti-clockwise. For some, it was thought that these stars might have come from its companion galaxy, the small Magellanic Cloud, Mr. Armstrong said. Our idea was that these stars might have come from a merger with another galaxy in the past. Mr. Armstrong, who's based at the University of Western Australia, used computer modeling to simulate galaxy mergers. What we found is that in this sort of merging event, you actually can get quite strong counter-rotation after a merger takes place, he said. This is consistent with what we see when we actually observe galaxies. The Magellanic Cloud can be seen in the night sky with the naked eye and have been observed by ancient cultures for thousands of years. The large Magellanic Cloud is relatively small, 160,000 light years away from us, while the small Magellanic Cloud is around 200,000 light years away. Mr. Armstrong said the finding could help to explain a problem that has perplexed astronomers for years. Why stars in the large Magellanic Cloud are generally either very old or very young. In galaxies, there are these large objects called star clusters, he said. Star clusters contain many, many, many stars that are all of quite similar ages and made in similar environments. In our Milky Way, the star clusters are all very old. But in the large Magellanic Cloud, we have very old clusters, as well as young ones that are very young, but nothing in between. This is known as the age gap problem, Mr. Armstrong said. Because in the large Magellanic Cloud, we see star formation starting again. That could be indicative of a galaxy merger taking place, he said. Mr. Armstrong said the finding could also help explain why the large Magellanic Cloud appears to have a thick disk. Our work is still very preliminary, but it does suggest that this sort of process could have been responsible for the thicker disk in the past, he said. Mr. Armstrong said the research was about asking pertinent questions that astronomers could start examining. It's about creating a new idea, a new way of looking at an old problem, he said. The article is entitled Matter Falling into a Black Hole at 30% of the Speed of Light. A UK team of astronomers reports the first detection of matter falling into a black hole at 30% of the speed of light, located in the center of the billion light-year distant galaxy PG211 plus 143. The team, led by Professor Ken Pounds of the University of Leicester, often used data from the European Space Agency's X-ray Observatory, XMM Newton, to observe the black hole. The results appear in a new paper and monthly notices of the Royal Astronomical Society. Black holes are objects with such strong gravitational fields that not even light travels quickly enough to escape their grasp, hence the description black. They are hugely important in astronomy because they offer the most efficient way of extracting energy from matter. As a direct result, gas infall, accretion, onto black holes must be powering the most energetic phenomena in the universe. The center of almost every galaxy, like our own Milky Way, contains a so-called supermassive black hole with masses of millions to billions of times the mass of our sun. With sufficient matter falling into the hole, these can become extremely luminous and are seen as a quasar or active galactic nucleus, an AGN. Black holes are so compact that glass is almost always rotating too much to fall in directly. Instead, it orbits the hole, approaching gradually through an accretion disk, a sequence of circular orbits of decreasing size. As gas spirals inwards, it moves faster and faster and becomes hot and luminous, turning gravitational energy into the radiation that astronomers observe. The orbit of the gas around the black hole is often assumed to be aligned with the rotation of the black hole, but there is no compelling reason for this to be the case. In fact, the reason we have summer and winter is that the Earth's daily rotation does not line up with its yearly orbit around the sun. Until now, it has been unclear how misaligned rotation might affect the infall of gas. This is particularly relevant to the feeding of supermassive black holes, since matter, interstellar gas clouds, or even isolated stars can fall in from any direction. Using data from XMM Newton, Professor Pounds and his collaborators looked at X-ray spectra, where X-rays are dispersed by wavelengths from the galaxy PG211 plus 143. This object lies more than 1 billion light years away in the direction of the constellation Como Berenices, and is a safer galaxy characterized by a very bright AGN resulting from the presence of the massive black hole at its nucleus. The researchers found the spectra to be strongly redshifted, showing the observed matter to be falling into the black hole at the enormous speed of 30% of the speed of light, or around 100,000 kilometers per second. The gas has almost no rotation around the hole and is detected extremely close to it in astronomical terms, at a distance of only 20 times the hole's size. Its event horizon, the boundary of the region where escape is no longer possible. The observation agrees closely with recent theoretical work, also at Leicester and using the UK's DARC supercomputer facility simulating the tearing of misaligned accretion disks. This work has shown that rings of gas can break off and collide with each other, canceling out their rotation and leaving gas to fall directly towards the black hole. Professor Pounds from the University of Leicester's Department of Physics and Astronomy said, The galaxy we are observing with XMM Newton has a 40 million solar mass black hole, which is very bright and evidently well fed. Indeed, some 15 years ago, we detected a powerful wind indicating the hole was being overfed. While such winds are now found in many active galaxies, PG 1211 plus 143 has now yielded another first, with the detection of matter plunging directly into the hole itself. We were able to follow an Earth-sized clump of matter for about a day as it was pulled towards the black, accelerating by to a third of the velocity of light before being swallowed up by the hole. A further implication of the new research is that chaotic accretion from misaligned disks is likely to be common for supermassive black holes. Such black holes would then spin quite slowly, being able to accept far more gas and grow their masses more rapidly than generally believed, providing an explanation for why black holes, which formed in the universe, quickly gained very large masses. Use the buzz from ScienceDaily.com. Afternet, WB5OZL.
Thank you, Miss Brenda. This is KE5ICX, Net Control Skynet. Let's see. Let's do one more round of check-ins. We'll see if anybody's out there late. Please come now with your call sign, phonetically your name, where you're transmitting from. We're going to go ahead and skip space exploration and space history tonight. There are reasons for that. Unfortunately, the weather killed off the balloon festival over in Plano for today, but it did take some of my folks away for that event, nevertheless. But we'll see what happens next week. All right, I got a couple of things on Heavens Above I guess I can give. Part of it, I think, and I'm no scientist, but I have a feeling that many of our passes, because we're at the equinox, that it's difficult to get favorable passes that provide reflection suitable enough to see objects in space that are orbiting Earth at 300 to 500 miles. So here's what we got. I'll give you the few things I have. Tiangong 2 is one of them. There is a pass on September 25th. Let me see if I can bring that thing up. Yeah, it's 1.2 magnitude. It's at 1815 or 6:15 in the evening. Reaches its highest point at 1819. That's 4 minutes later at 58 degrees and then falls to the northeast at 1822. It's a reasonably good pass. This one goes through in between Draco and Hercules, through Delphinius, past Aquarius, and then falls to the southeast. VSAT has a number of passes. This one is more north to south type activity. We have one on September 23rd. It's a 3.5 magnitude at 1945 local time out of the south. Reaches its highest point at 1950 at 57 degrees and then falls at 1955. It's a close pass through Saturn on that date, so you'll be able to see it somewhat brilliantly through Hercules and through Draco, and then to the north near Ursa Major. Pass would be September 26th. That one is a 3.0 magnitude at 1933 out of the south, 1938 at its highest point at 79 degrees, and then falls to the west-southwest at 1943. And then finally, on October 1st, 3.7 magnitude, here we go again, at 1948 local time out of the south, reaches its high point at 1953 at 50 degrees of the west, and then falls to the west-southwest at 1958. Why does it end up in every week? Because it's got these south to north passes over and over and over again, polar satellites. So, as a result, at least we get some favorable passes from that. The not so much. All right, we're spinning down to the end. Does anyone have well, let me ask you this. We do have a few minutes. Does anyone have any questions they would like to bring to the net? These can be astronomical questions or answers or something that you've seen this week that you would like to bring to the net. Anyone out there? Come with your call sign.
Kilo Echo 5, Romeo, Romeo, Romeo. What was the name of the movie that we were supposed to follow?
Okay, that's coming up. That's called UFOs, The True Story of Flying Saucers, 1956. It's over on YouTube, but you're going to have to watch it really quick.
Okay, how do you watch it?
You have to go to YouTube, YOUTUBE.com, and then type in UFOs and flying saucers in 1956, and that should get you there.
Oh, and then y'all will be back on here later to talk about it?
We'll start at 10:30.
Okay, doke. Thank you very much.
And you are welcome. Any additional questions or final check-ins come now?
OZT.
T50ZT. Go ahead, Miss Carolyn.
Meaning to mention this, but there is on my tablet. There is a nice app that I found in the Google store. It's called ISS Live HD, and it's when you open. Now this is a Google. It's in the Google Play Store. I don't know if they have it for other systems or not, but you tap on, you open it, and it shows the map of where the where the space station is, and if they happen to be in daylight, they'll have a lot of times they'll have a camera, you know, showing the Earth below. I haven't been able to catch it, but apparently sometimes they show something going on in the station. I haven't caught that any time, but it's a nice little app that people might enjoy. ISS Live HD. Okay, and like I say, I got mine on the Google Play Store for Android, but they may be in other systems. AC50ZT.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Carolyn. I put it on the stream. It is called ISS HD Live, U-Earth Live. It is an app for Google, for Android devices. There's been 100,473 downloads, so you can go to the Google Play Store, or if you want to go to the website, just kind of look at it, go to play.google.com and plug in the search window ISS HD Live, 3 words, ISS HD and live, and you should be able to find the site. It is, I believe, free. It's ad supported, so if you don't mind that, you can go ahead and install it and try it. If you don't, just go ahead and delete it. But it's there and it's available. I'll check it out myself. I think it might be interesting. Anyone have any questions or additional comments? Please come out. All right, we'll just go ahead and close it down. Tonight we had 24 check-ins, not too bad. We had hams participating in the net, including myself. Thanks to all who checked in this evening. We hope you join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're also looking for net control stations for this and all the other DARC nets. If you'd like to try your hand at this, please contact any of the net controls by sending an email to nets@w5fc.org. You can follow topics and discussion about this net and astronomy in general on Facebook and Twitter, as well as our audio-video streams, video archives, and other useful internet resources by going to w5fc.org at the conclusion of this net. Until next Saturday night, this is Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray. Tom and I will be closing the net at 22:22 local time, 7-3. Returning the repeater to normal amateur use. 7-3, everybody, and enjoy discovering the universe. We will be back at 10:30 for the Afterglow movie net, which is UFOs, the true story of flying saucers from 1956. Whether you've seen it or not, it doesn't matter. We'll be talking flying saucers. If you did, you get to comment on this fine film. We'll be back at 10:30. This is KE5ICX. We're clear for now.
Update.
Completely operational, and all my circuits are functioning perfectly.
Afterglow Movie Net.
N5HYP.
Does anyone need to use repeater before we begin the net? It's Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima. I will be net control this evening for the Afterglow movie. And we have another fine selection tonight. It's UFOs, the true story of flying saucers. It's a documentary. So, would like to call on KE5ICX, Tom, to please give us a synopsis of whatever this is. Go ahead.
All right, here we go. The full title is Unidentified Flying Objects, the true story of flying saucers. It is a 1956 semi-documentary. How could it be semi? I didn't see a truck in any of it. Semi-documentary about the development of the UFO phenomenon in the United States. Video clips from the documentary have often been used in other UFO documentaries and television episodes related to UFOs, or as they're well known in Canada as UFOs. Yeah, I agree. Origins and plot. In 1952, Hollywood producer Clarence Green saw an unusual object twisting in the sky. He decided to report the sighting and contact the U.S. Air Force Public Information Officer Albert M. Chop, remember that name, who was in charge of answering UFO questions from the reporters and the public. Intrigued by his experience, Green decided to film a documentary film about UFO phenomenon. When Chop told Green about the existence of video footage of UFOs, Green obtained the footage for analysis and display in his documentary. I think they mean film. The documentary starts in 1947, which is first widely criticized UFO sightings in the United States. Publicized, not criticized. Well, they were criticized, but they were publicized before they were criticized, including recreations of the Kenneth Andrew and Arnold UFO sighting, the Mantell UFO incident, and the Gorman dogfight. Then it traces the development of UFOs as both a popular fad and a serious concern for the U.S. Air Force. The history of Project Sign, the first Air Force study of the UFO phenomenon, is discussed. The documentary then focuses upon Alfred M. Chop and his growing involvement with UFOs. Chop was assigned as a public information officer at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio in the late 1940s. In that position, he was required to answer numerous questions to the news media's queries about UFO sightings and what the Air Force knows about them. Although he is initially portrayed as a UFO debunker, Chop gradually changes his views as the movie progresses, and he comes to believe that UFOs are unknown and possibly extraterrestrial aircraft. By 1952, Chop has moved to Washington, D.C., where he is the press spokesman for Project Blue Book. The documentary analyzes two famous pieces of UFO footage: the Mariana UFO incident of 1950, in which the manager of the Great Falls, Montana minor league baseball team claimed to have filmed two UFOs flying over the local baseball stadium, and the 1952 UFO taken near Great Salt Lake in Utah by U.S. Navy photographer Delbert Newhouse. The documentary concludes with the famous 1952 Washington, D.C. UFO incident in which Albert Chop played a central role. The documentary recreates Chop's experiences during the incident. At the end of the documentary, Chop states his belief that UFOs are real, physical phenomenon of unknown origin. I will stop there. This is KE5ICX, back to net control.
Thank you, Tom. I will just say as a beginning shot that I don't know why they use those cheesy film. There's been tons of movies with better UFO images, and I don't know why they didn't use some of those. Okay, we're going to start with check-ins. We'll do low power short time first. Please come now. You know the drill. Your call sign, your name, and your location, and whether you saw the movie. And we won't ask you if you've been abducted this time. Please come now.
Golf 5, uniform Foxtrot Romeo.
Golf 5, Papa, Mike November, Yankee 4,
November 5, Hotel Yankee Papa, Tom and Irving. Yes, we saw the piece of celluloid.
This is Kilo Foxtrot 5, Papa Delta Sierra, Billy and Sherman. Yes, I saw the film.
Bravo. Bill in Irving. Yes, I saw the film.
Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony and Dallas. I have not only seen the film, but I'm pretty sure I've seen some of the UFOs depicted in one of their pieces of actual so-called footage, NT5TM.
Charlie 5, Oscar Julie Tango, Carolyn in Louisville, and I saw the film.
Kilo, Foxtrot 5, Tango, Sierra Kilo, Pearl in Dallas. I did see the film.
Whiskey 5, Echo Bravo Bravo, David in Dallas. Yes, I saw the movie.
Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray, Tom, Louisville. Yeah, I did too.
Kilo Golf 5, Bravo Zulu Whiskey. Jay, I did see the film.
Start at the top. I've got some gaps in here. The first one, KG5 UFR, I believe. I did not get your name.
It's Kilo Golf 5, Uniform Foxtrot Romeo. The name is Jacob in Roy City. And no, I have not seen the movie. I don't have any traffic, but I just want to check in. This is my first Afterglow net, and I'm looking forward to it.
Very good. Thanks for checking in. And the next call sign, I got KG5, and then it got real scratchy. So please come now with the rest of your call sign and your name, please.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Papa Mike, November, James, Fort Worth.
Let's try that one more time. KG5, I got Papa, and then didn't get the rest. Please come back.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Papa Mike, November, James, Fort Worth, Eagle, Bon, Echolink.
I got Kilo Golf 5, Papa Mike, November, and I still didn't get your name. Maybe later, you might go to higher power or lose your position. We have N5HYP Tom, KF5PDS Billy, N5BB Bill, NT5TM Tony, KC5OZT Carolyn, KF5TSK Burl, W5EBB David, KE5ICX Tom, and KG5BDW Jay. And well, that's a healthy bunch. Any more check-ins?
Kilo Echo 5, Romeo, 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 Highland Park.
E5, Romeo, Romeo, Romeo. Your name, please.
In Highland Park.
Okay, thank you, Marvin. Any other chance before we get started? All right, well, let's just jump in. KG5 UFR, Jack, you didn't see the movie, but do you have any comments about UFOs since you're first on the list?
See the movie, but I'll stand by and listen. KE5RRR back to net control.
All right, well, feel free to jump in if you have comments. KG5PMN, I still didn't get your name. And I don't know if you saw the movie, but do you have anything to share with us?
Negative, ma'am. I'll just stand by and listen. My name is Marvin, KE5RRR, KE5 Romeo, Highland Park.
The call sign that I'm missing is a KG5, and then Papa Mike November is what I copied. Are you there?
This Kilo Golf 5, Papa Mike November. I moved over on Echolink. I'm James in Fort Worth, and I did see the movie. I guess I've never seen UFOs, but I guess they do exist, so I really can't comment about that. But got a few things about the movie later on when we get into it. KG5PMN, back to the net.
Can you give us your name, please?
Kilo Golf 5, Papa Mike November, James over here in Fort Worth. KG5PMN.
Line 5, HYP Tom. Please give us your insight about, did you like the movie and what did you think of the, I hate to say plot since it was a documentary.
This is N5HYP. Yeah, you know, the reviewers call it a pseudo-documentary, and that's you know, a good name to use there. Yes, back in the 40s and the 50s, and even into the 60s, there was, you know, quite a bit of UFO interest. And so this movie in the mid-50s attempted to capitalize on that. You know, took some publicized incidents and attempted to dramatize them. However, it was very unbelievable. The recreations were very unbelievable, just because the acting was so poor. And then when they finally do show you some footage, the footage is so, you know, unremarkable that you couldn't really tell what it was. They try to get you to analyze it at the end of the movie, but it just was, it just, even if you were a UFO believer, and I'm really not, you'd have a tough time with this. And I did have to comment at the end. They said this is an authentic motion picture. Well, yeah, it was authentic. It was filmed on celluloid. It was filmed on acetate. So it was authentic in that regard, because they didn't have anything else to put images on back then. It's N5HYP back to that.
Okay, KF5PDS Billy, go ahead.
Well, good evening. Yeah, it was, pseudo-documentary and pseudo-feature film, you know, kind of sticking, I don't know, it was so dry. Even, I don't know, just if these were, you know, the actors, you know, didn't recognize any of them, but, so I don't know if they were popular actors of the time just for those type of films. But yeah, it was an interest in the 40s and 50s to be interested in UFOs. I don't know, either they should make it just a straight documentary and show more footage and more eyewitness accounts, but I think just so much voiceover just kills it. It would have been much more interesting, to have the actual people, hearing them talk instead of just seeing mouths move and having a voiceover of what the people said. If they would have treated it more like they could still do it as a pseudo-documentary, but have it be like more person-to-person interviews instead of just showing people, military men with their mouths moving and voicing over all the time. To me, just too much voiceover kind of killed it just wasn't engaging. And then the feature film part, as Tom HYP said, the acting was so bad, it's just so flat that, there is just no dimensionality to it. It's, almost one-dimensional. It's just, to me, it's so flat, it's not even two-dimensional. Because there's just no depth in any character at all. Just have this very linear, with no other added characteristic to it. So it just to me came across as single subject, obviously, but just very dry, and just not very engaging. Which I think if they would have made it more. I know the feature films of the day, became more kind of the cult classics of the time, but, I know they wanted to treat this more like a documentary, but they just kind of sucked all the interest out of it. And, the footage at the end was pretty unremarkable, but even I liked how they did the footage at the end. They gave you some background on it, and I liked how they would, zoom in and stop it from time to time. Because anytime you see footage like that, you kind of are like, wait, go back, or they just zoom past it and don't show anything. But at least they tried to do a thorough treatment to show people, some key features. And I thought it was kind of cool, but you had to wait till like the last minute of the film to get to that. It's like they go through all of this, and it's like, okay, now the footage. I think if they would have done it as a documentary and sprinkled footage throughout, that it would have been much more engaging and interesting. But so I don't know. It is what it is, and I'm sure it's preserved for all time for people to take it as part of our history, and it's just kind of an interesting snapshot of our time, what people were interested in. But it just to me was not a very engaging treatment of the subject. So with that, I'll return it to you. This is KF5PDS. Back to net.
Of OZL. N5BB. Bill, your comments, please.
Yes, Brenda, this is N5BB. Well, there was no acting. It was supposed to be a newsreel kind of thing, reporting like a documentary what happened. And I think he kind of failed on that, as has already been commented on. I wasn't convinced by anything. The quality of the thing was pretty poor. Even for a 1958 film, the quality was pretty poor. And everybody was very stilted, and some of the things were silly. A lot of them were silly, and didn't seem very realistic to me. And I don't mean the UFO reports, I mean the people's interactions and typing up the secret application and things and all that stuff. It was just not very realistic at all to me. N5BB. Oh, and by the way, I really think all those UFOs, obviously after this long, is there any difference on those UFO reports? No. So I really think that they were other things other than, well, excuse me, they were UFOs. They were unidentified, apparently flying objects, although quite often they may have been problems with the film and the camera. That's all I got. N5BB.
Yes, I've always been amazed at how photographic technology has become so advanced, and you get crystal clear images of trees and the moon, and your grandkids, but every UFO picture is fuzzy and shakes and, you know, out of focus, and it's far away. It's like, how come nobody can ever get a good picture of it? That's just kind of a mystery. Okay, NT5TM, Tony.
And yes, I'm kind of with Bill on that one, and with Billy too. I see UFOs every day. I can't tell a Gulf Stream 3 from a Gulf Stream 4. Aaron's the expert at that, so a lot of planes are UFOs to me. As far as, the plot was just so amazingly naive and boring and dry. It's just a real miracle that every single person in the Air Force is such a model of probity and discretion, and how the government only uses secrecy to prevent too many well-meaning citizens from offering their input and help. It's really amazing how wonderful our government is, and just how exceedingly boring it is. It's amazing to me anyone in this movie ever finished their career in the Air Force. So yeah, I found the plot to be very, very, very dry. I'm with Billy on that one. I had to watch this movie at 1.5 speed by the time I got to the end of it on YouTube. It's amazing how over time a lot of these reports dried up. When these radar people, and they were so tedious about that, no, it was a good solid blip. I was sure it wasn't ground reflection. I was sure it wasn't a temperature inversion. They had to repeat that over and over again. They were looking at World War II surplus primary radar. Almost all these weird radar problems went away in the 60s when they went to using pulse Doppler instead of continuous wave. It's just... and near the end, there were these bright white particles that seemed to be so far away. They looked like migrating pelicans to me. I've seen pelicans so high up, they just appear like white static, even through high-powered binoculars. That is the most gaping plot hole in this movie. When people talk about UFOs, oh, I'm sure it was a mile away. You can't tell.
TM, are you still there?
I think he got abducted.
P5TM?
You dropped off. Are you still there? Do you still have comments?
My HT died, and I don't know where it died, but for now I'll get another HT, and I'll suffice by saying the movie was very dry, and I wish it had gotten into some controversy by looking at some of the reasons to be skeptical of tiny things seen far away by people who didn't know what they were seeing. NT5TM.
Yes. My understanding is the U.S. government was more than happy to propagate UFO stories to cover up their secret aircraft, which is good. They're looking out for us. Okay, KC5OZT. Carolyn, go ahead.
I agree. It was sort of a stilted, dry, the way they presented it. I've always been interested in UFOs, just hearing the stories, thanks to a school teacher I had, but and I noticed, I recognized a lot of the cases mentioned in it, but they just, I agree, you know, they didn't present, the film and the characters, just sort of, you had to, it was hard to tell who was who, you know, except for the main one, but, overall, though, I'm gonna say I never enjoyed the movie totally, but, it was nice to see, anyway. KC50ZT.
KFSTSK Burl, go ahead.
It's KF5TSK. Well, I'll say I enjoyed the movie. It was a documentary. It kind of filled in some things that I didn't know or probably didn't pick up over the years because I think the military just squashed all, talk about UFOs, and some of it was, their thinking was, we can hide our, secret projects that fail behind all of these things that's called UFOs. So, but like I say, I was real happy to see that, some things were going on, and maybe they couldn't show, the actual radar, but they could say, what was really going on. So I think it was, it may not have been perfect, but I think it was close enough. KF5TSK back to net.
W5EBB David, go ahead.
Yes, UFOs exist. That's absolutely true, as others have said. And if you can't identify it and it's up in the air, well, it's an unidentified object that you're looking at, but it may not be flying. Who knows what it is? It may not even have mass. It just may be a light reflection. But the conclusion that UFOs do exist, well, that doesn't mean they're flying saucers. Now, the first account from the single-occupant pilot who observed the first set of UFOs, that quickly made headlines across the world. Really? I thought this was a time when stories required vetting of such fantastic accounts and independent verification, confirmation to exist before broadcasting it across the world. Apparently not. So what is a real story? Consider Little Red Riding Hood, original Brothers Grimm story. I can't say what the plot of that original story was, but that was the real story. Now, there have been variants, some in which both Grandma and Little Red Riding Hood are both eaten by the wolf, and that's the end of the story. In others, a hunter comes in and slices open the wolf, and there are Grandma and Little Red Riding Hood alive. So it's morphed over time. So which is the real story and which is the fake one? Well, it's hard to say, but they're both stories. Whether they actually occurred or not, no. And similarly, I question whether, this is just a story that's real, or are these accurate, authentic accounts. W5EBB.
Okay, KE5ICX, Tom, it is your turn.
Oh, in some ways I wish you hadn't called on me, but I did check in. There was one profound thing that I realized with this motion picture is that it's perfect for insomnia. This film did put me to sleep, more than once, in fact. So I missed a lot of the plot points. The nice thing is the rumbling sound and the repartee back and forth, and I think there was a party in there. I remember that in my dream. All of that helps to provide for sound sleep. And that was last night, so I'm kind of fine today, thanks to this film. What was interesting, and I agree with what everybody said so far, is that from when I was conscious, the film was plodding and slow, and nobody cared much about Chop as it goes in his investigations and into what is going on. it only really started getting interesting when it got into the UFO thing over Washington. That was kind of cool. Everybody's gathered around the big, super big radar system that they had there. That was kind of fun. The severe lighting and the shadows and all of that kind of gave it a creepy feel, either accidentally or on purpose. I think it was more accidentally. And how that all played out. And then what Tony said I thought was interesting too, is that they're so sure of what it's not, but they have no idea what it is. What does that mean? Afterwards, they gave us kind of a post-mortem on everything that they had seen. I guess they just didn't have enough of a plot to continue the story, so they had to explain all of this and show us the footage and why they felt what they did and all of that. I'm sure in 1956, I think, was when this movie was made, that this is a big deal, and it provided you sort of that feeling of authenticity. The funny thing about it is we continue to do this. You see films or TV programs like the Discovery Channel or other cable channels in the hundreds, which do the UFO thing, and they do the same thing. They just simply say, wow, this is what we saw, and this is how we saw it, and it's not vetted very well. They just conveniently forget the things that actually kind of throw it in the wastebasket. Now, I will give them credit on this. They did try and do 3 legitimate stories, I guess. I did not Google them to find out if they were true or not. So, just to see how that all works out. The film itself is really not that much disparaged. I'm looking at ratings that came, apparently it was on Turner Classic Movies, and they, the folks that saw it, many for the first time, back in, I think it was 2008 or 2011, I'm not sure when it came out on TCM, gave it middle-of-the-road ratings overall for everything. So these are folks that have a tendency to be a little more picky about their motion picture watching, or maybe these are the leftovers that aren't picky about that's got to be what it is. These are people that aren't picky about what they're watching, or their remote control was broken, and watched this on Turner Classic Movies. All of them gave it middle of the road, 3.5 out of 5 total. So with that, I'll wait for others to tell me more about this movie that I kind of missed. KE5ICX.
Right. KG5BZWJ.
This is KG5BZW. What to say? Yeah, the plot was not much to it. I guess the things I really want to comment on, but normally comment on another section, but maybe, I don't know, it's okay. So my main beef with all of this is that throughout this movie, we were being told things. I know it was like I don't know, over 5 miles away. And it's like, no, you don't know that. I got it. Just that kind of thing was there's when presumptions are made when you have no right to make those presumptions. That's the kind of thing that kind of gets me a little bit ticked off. And especially at the end, I couldn't make it through the footage at the end, and because the narrator was just saying these things, it's like they were just points out of the blue that were either irrelevant or not really true. I don't know about this footage. I don't really care about this footage. It's not even that interesting. That's the thing that what I think is most annoying about it. It's so we've got these dots in the sky, and I guess they had to build up on those dots somehow to make a movie out of it or something. But they're dots in the sky. There's not much to that. It can be whatever the heck you want them to be. It's not that kind of stuff happens quite often. Either birds, whatever. Oh, they're not birds. No, really? They're dots in the sky. Okay, sorry. Yeah, that's all I have to say. KQ5 BCW back to net.
Okay, well, that's the end of the list. I have a couple of quick comments. Cool thing about this movie is that Harry Morgan is the voice of the Red Dog pilot. So I think that's pretty cool. I think this is interesting from a sociological standpoint when you look at the time that it was made, 1956. There was a lot of UFO hysteria, and people were believing this. It was all kind of a new thing then. We're kind of jaded now, but there was a great deal of excitement at the time over UFOs and so many sightings, and then later a lot of the sightings were debunked, and then people kind of lost interest. I agree. These are lights in the sky, proves nothing. And we're still seeing some of those. I saw one the other day, this triangle of lights, and they're passing it off as a UFO. Well, I don't know. I think it was Carl Sagan who said, why do we not have an artifact, a piece of a spaceship, somebody lost a hairbrush, something that physical that aliens have left behind. It's very curious absence of any kind of evidence. So, all these sightings could be hallucinations, could be tricks, could be nothing, could be hoaxes. I have an open mind. I can't believe there's not aliens out there, but all the sightings we've seen, I'm just convinced yet. But the movie plotted way too much, on and on and on, repetitiously, saying the same thing over and over, and most movies, when it gets close to the end, you go, ooh, what's going to happen next to get to the climax? Well, this to me, it just drug into a slow death, and I couldn't wait for it to be over. All right, this is WB5OZL. Do we have any additional check-ins? Okay, we're going to start back at the top of the list. I'm not going to call people who said that they didn't want to talk, but feel free to jump in if you want to. And I don't know that we want to talk about special effects because there really weren't any, or music, costumes, anything. Let's just talk about whatever you want to talk about. So we'll start with N5HYP. Tom.
Hey, Brenda, this is N5HYP, and hi, everybody in the net again. I'm surprised that Tom wasn't all gushing over all the, airplane and technology stuff that they use to try to, legitimize, or to describe the stories. That's okay, Tom. I know you're a aerospace geek. That's okay. You know, like Brenda, like you said, sociologically back in the 40s, 50s, and even into the 60s, UFOs were a very prevalent part of our culture, and it kind of tied in, especially by the time it got into the 60s, with the space race. By 1957, we had Sputnik, so we could go to space, so why couldn't somebody else come here? So it sociologically, fit real well. By the way, acting, especially even the things that were supposed to be interviews, where it looked like people were just reading off of cue cards. One thing I did notice, I did note locally here, was back in the days, because I started in television at the end of film, and film news footage, and because the reporters and photographers didn't have that much film brought along with them to be able to shoot. Pretty much you had to make every shot count. So when they did an interview with people, they oftentimes would rehearse the answer that they wanted to put on the interview. So many, many times when you see interviews of people answering questions or telling their story, it almost sounds like they were reading it because they were so rehearsed to be able to get the shot right, to be able to get the film clip right. So in that regard, it actually felt real. It felt like a 1950s newsreel or film news piece. That was about the only thing that really worked on it for me. So that's all. Back to net. I'm done for tonight. We'll catch you guys next week. This is N5HYP.
Okay, thanks. KF5PDS. Billy, go ahead.
Sorry, I missed what aspect of the film are we discussing right now, Brenda? KF5PDS. If you could fill me in, I was away from the audio, so if you could tell me what aspect we're discussing, I'll chime in. This is KF5PDS.
You said, basically anything you want to say about it, because we can't talk about music or special effects or costumes or whatever. Just anything you want to mention about the movie, go ahead.
Okay, great, thanks. Yeah, I was putting away some laundry, so I didn't hear that part. Thank you very much. Yeah, really not much else to add. Like Tom, I kind of winked out a little bit in the middle, but I'm glad you mentioned Harry Morgan because I knew the voice sounded familiar and I thought that was him, so thank you for the confirmation. So that was one familiar aspect of the film that I thought was neat. But yeah, I really don't have much to add about this one. So it was cool. I'm glad we brought it to the fore, but I'll probably never watch it again. I don't know, unless I'm on a UFO binge or something, which never really happens. But it was cool to see, just I guess from a historical standpoint. And it'll be interested to see what we talk about next week. So I really don't have that much to add. So with that, I'll throw it back to you. This is KF5PDS, back to now.
N5BD, Bill, go ahead.
Oh, I've got very little else to say. I wasn't impressed by it. I can't believe somebody would pay money to see this in the movie theater. I don't know. N5BD.
Oh, maybe they had high expectations. NT5TM, Tony, go ahead.
Thank you, Brenda. One thing that I found unintentionally really funny near the end of the movie is they're very incredulous that Air Force analysis of a film suggests that if this were an aircraft, it would have been moving 653 miles an hour. And I'm thinking, yeah, like an F-86, a plane that was very common in 1956 for military use. A couple of things not directly related to the movie, but that are fun and UFO related. Look up the book Roadside Picnic. Roadside Picnic. When someone mentioned, why haven't UFOs left any litter or artifacts behind? No one dropped a hairbrush. That's kind of what that book is about, and its effect on individual people and human culture. Look for the newest translation. It's a very good book. So that's a Roadside Picnic. The other thing is that no one uses primary radar anymore without any processing. Even weather radar goes through a lot of computerization before we can see it. You can't get a feed of the raw weather radar data. You can only see what the forecasters see. But you can get a number from the Weather Service computers about how much bird subtraction they've done, because their computers try to filter out flocks of birds. They don't want to show the forecasters birds and have them think it's a tornado. And ornithologists have been using that bird subtraction data to make maps of where birds are migrating, because the more birds you have to subtract from the weather radar, the more migrating birds there were in that frame. So that's kind of a cool use of UFO-like data. Nothing more to say on this clunker. NT5PM.
Hey, KC5OZT, Carolyn.
Well, there was one character I was interested to see, was the captain of Blue Book, Edward Ruppelt. Like I said, I bought books on UFOs, and I bought one he had written in 1956, the report on unidentified flying objects. I guess he'd left Blue Book to be able to release this, and actually some of the cases, one for, that Mantel, he went up in the P-51 too high and crashed, they chasing a UFO, and they don't mention in the film, but let me reach that. In Ruppelt's book, once he got into Blue Book, he started looking in those records, and he found records of that fit all the sightings, including the one these pilots saw that Mantel unfortunately flew too high. He found that a skyhook balloon had been launched and had drifted the direction that everybody was seeing this UFO, and in those days the skyhook balloons were a secret, so I guess the pilots had never seen one, and so he really explained that when they don't mention it in the movie, but well, of course, he might not have explained it by then, but you don't see the skyhook balloons around much anymore. They used to launch them down in Palestine, Texas, and we'd see them a lot. But, and there's several of the other cases that are mentioned in this book, and some explained, some not, but that one caught my attention, because I remembered about that. I thought they were going to explain what it was, but they didn't. But that's one of the cases anyway, and I think that's all for right now, Case 50ZT.
Okay, Burl, KF5TSK, go ahead.
KF5TSK. Well, I would say that, you know, at the time even when the documentary was made, I think there were a lot of things that they didn't really want to say that I'm sure the federal government would have gone back and says, we want to review the movie before you release it, and we want to make sure you don't say anything that the Russians might see. And, you know, other than that, I think, you know, the point of the movie was, you know, the government had this big reluctance to even admit that something could happen. KF5TSK back to that.
EBB, David.
Regarding characters, I would say that the witnesses, their accounts were very well rehearsed, almost robotic in delivery, very precise. And so, you know, were they actors or were they the actual people who originated these accounts? And that's the problem with a dramatized documentary like this. You're not really sure whether you're watching somebody who's actually the person who saw these things or if it's just an actor. Now, one thing kind of inconsistent in behavior was Albert Schopp. He was briefed on secret programs, has an N with military and other government officials on the programs, Project Sign in particular. And there's a point in the movie where in his office some unbriefed reporters show up questioning about UFO sightings. And Schopp calls, I guess, the Air Tactical Command and tells the reporters to listen in on a phone extension. You don't do that. He could divulge something that's secret that's not meant for public distribution, and these reporters would have just heard it. So that, you just don't do that. Now, what the ATC guy did say was Project Sign is officially closed, which may have been true, but we later find that a follow-up program called Project Grudge, renamed, was basically doing the same thing. But what he said was true. Project Sign is closed. So he didn't lie, just didn't tell us the whole truth. Now, the 1950s in general was an era of paranoia. You know, people were scared of nuclear attacks and of aliens and UFOs, and the movies of the time promoted that. It came from outer space and, you know, all these things. It was an age of paranoia, McCarthyism and all that. But it reminded me of a few quotes. You know, there's the quote that a lie will go around the world while the truth is putting on its shoes or putting on its boots. Now, that was attributed to Mark Twain, Winston Churchill. And I just looked this up, and there was a guy named C.H. Spurgeon in 1859 who said, falsehood will fly from Maine to Georgia while truth is putting on her boots. And Jonathan Swift in 1710 said, falsehood flies and the truth comes limping after it. So all of these basically the same thing, but it's hard to know, just like Little Red Riding Hood, what was the original quote and who can it be attributed to? But all of these accounts, it basically creates noise to mask out what may be the actual facts and truth. But you can't even hear an oboe in a symphony amidst the cacophony of kazoo players. And I think that was maybe what all of this was fundamentally about. W5EBB.
KE5ICX, you're up.
I'm not sure that I can follow David's comments. He made some really great comments. The only thing I could say is that, you know, we're kind of really down on this film, but the way they were trying to do it as a documentary, it did deliver in that way. Problem is that what do? You do a regular dry documentary, then you're going to have a host, somebody who's going to be able to deliver it in an appropriate way. I don't know. Well, Leonard Nimoy hadn't done anything at that point, so he wasn't known, but you would need somebody central to that. Chop's supposed to be the kicker, but he's an actor in this thing, so you decide how you're going to do it. The film had to decide one way or the other. Are they going to do it as a dramatization, or are they going to do it as a documentary? Very rarely do these things work out somewhere in between, and that was what this was, somewhere in between. Be the X-Files, then, and do it to, We Are Not Alone, and I Want to Believe. Do it that way, or do an In Search Of, and do Leonard Nimoy and let him discuss it, and possibly interview the people that are involved in the thing. But don't do it somewhere in between. It just doesn't quite work. Like David mentioned, it looked like things were rehearsed at times, and it definitely did. The acting was poor. Music wasn't bad, and yeah. I did see the aircraft, Tom. I noticed it, and I forgot about them because I fell asleep during the film. So maybe next time they'll do better. But perhaps a film like this would do better with better special effects, as there were none. Maybe the music was okay. I mean, there wasn't anything wrong with that. The only time it ever approached anything that looked authentic or even passable was the final scene in the radar room and the center. Let me reset. Where they're watching and intercepting, that was kind of interesting, and it had a feel for what was in Close Encounters of the Third Kind at the very beginning of the film, when the air traffic control people are trying to determine what's going on. And I suspect, I could be wrong because of the commonality with air traffic control and the way it works, it had that feel. It looked as though maybe they pulled from this movie to do Close Encounters, that one scene. And that was the best part of the whole frickin' movie, was that one scene towards the end and what was going to happen. And then it was a big letdown because nothing happened of any consequence. And then we had to talk about, well, okay, that was a big, boring ending. Let's talk about how all this film came about and why it was so important to us, like the making of. So I guess that's it. That's all I've got to say about the film. It could have been better. Could it be done today? Yeah, a hell of a lot better, with better effects and in a better way. And I think it has been. Oh, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. KE5ICX.
Indeed, and when we reviewed that movie, we did not want to stop because we all loved it so much. KG5BZW, Jay, go ahead.
This is KG5BZW. Didn't really have much to say, so I cheated and went to IMDb and verified some of the factual errors, well, as quickly as I could verify. So, grain of salt and all. But there are two, I just thought it was kind of curious, especially this fact. Let me see. Oh, shoot. Let me reset. Okay. Just to make sure I don't time out anything here. Of course, there were a lot of news footage. Some look purely fictional. Some look like plausible. It was. I found I'm almost kind of curious just why certain choices were made when it came to these two magazines. And July 1st, 1952. No, that's not the one I want. The April 7th, 1952 issue of Life magazine had Marilyn Monroe on its cover, not Harry Truman. Now, what? I mean, actually, it was pretty obvious in the film that it didn't quite look right. It didn't quite look like the actual covers. And the same thing happened with Look magazine, where they have Eisenhower bows. Actually, if you look at the July 1st, 1952 issue, it's actually the cover is actually kind of interesting. It's but they are, both of these issues do have some sort of UFO story or flying saucer story. The Look issue, the Look issue had an article titled "Flying Saucers: Hunt Goes On," which so accurately depicted. And of course, the Life magazine. Let's see, I need to go to my little. You can get if I can look at a copy on eBay. There's a case for interplanetary saucers. So, like the titles were accurate, the magazine. I'm just kind of curious. What is Marilyn Monroe just not serious enough for this? And the look, like I said, the Look magazine, it had what? Oh, I didn't actually name every book. Like there's just a lot of stuff from back then. Boxer, Sugar Ray. I can't think and talk at the same time. But anyway, just curious about those choices, and I'm probably about to time out. So we'll just send it back to Nick Control. This is KG5BCW.
Does anybody else have any other comments?
JDW.
K5 JDW, go ahead.
Make it to the radio in time sometimes. Got a quick question. Actually, answer my question, and then I got a comment if it's the right movie. I don't remember the name of this movie. It sounds like y'all are describing one I watched quite a while back. Is this one that during the movie or at the very end or both, they show a bunch of little white lights kind of going on and off in the distance?
That is the one. That supposedly is actual UFO footage, but or what passed for it at the time.
Yeah, I do remember that. I have seen this documentary or movie or reenactment or combination of all three. One of the things I noticed from that, and to let you know, I actually have taken a picture of some birds at a really high altitude, and that's what those are. Between then and now, somebody's probably tried to, probably figured that out. I don't know. I've never read that anywhere, but I've actually got footage of birds that look exactly like that. And pretty much you're looking at birds kind of swooping and flipping around. They have, I'm assuming they have different, like light on the bottom or light on the top and black on the bottom. Who knows? Anyway, but they seem to appear and disappear, and that's what those are. Those are birds. And how I know that is because one day I was out, and I've actually seen this twice, but you hear them coming long before you see them. You hear them they may be ducks. They almost sound like a flock of ducks, which they may eat. Not an expert. So anyway, but if anybody wants to copy that, I can send it to them, and you can make the comparison between that and the movie. K5JDW.
Well, thank you for your insight. Do we have any more check-ins? I think we're going to wrap this up here pretty soon. Any other comments before we close it out?
KF5TSK.
KF5TSK, go ahead, Burl.
also, one of the things during this time period, there was a big thing about alien abduction, and also the government did a lot to, suppress people's report. It's like, you didn't see that. That wasn't there. That was swamp gas. That was just birds. That was temperature inversion. They had all these reasons, and it's kind of like, you really didn't see anything. And I think that, really gave a lot of credibility. So, in a lot of ways, it probably was, good that we look at it now. If it happened, it was a big secret. Well, we didn't get invaded, so I guess we're not concerned about it now. KF5 TSK back to net.
Well, I keep thinking one of these days, if they're out there, they may just come and send their diplomatic mission. Okay, well, I guess we're going to close it out. We have 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Looks like 14 of us. That's a pretty good group. Tom, do you have anything for next week? KE5ICX.
Yes, I always have something for next week. All right, everybody jot this down. Number 2 pencil required. The next movie next week is The Last Woman on Earth, a fine film from 1960. I've never seen it. I'm sure it's fantastic. It is available online. You want to find it, or you would like to be included in an email, you can go to the Facebook page, Afterglow Movie, that's 2 words, Afterglow, and the word movie, and sign up. You'll find the links there for one of the documents for the upcoming Afterglow movie list, or send me an email at Kilo Echo 5 India Charlie X-Ray, KE5ICX at yahoo.com, and say you'd like to be a part of the list. I will add you to the list to send you the information on the movie as well as a link that will tell you where you can find the movie. This is KE5ICX. That's it.
If you go to Google and type in UFO and then click on images, you'll see lots and lots of pictures of real aliens and real flying saucers. It's really kind of fun. All right, thanks everybody. This is WB5OZL Clear.